Today on the Nourish Life podcast, we're going to talk about what your doctor might not be telling you. I know that Western medicine is really set up for reactive versus proactive and how you can get proactive about your health. So I will talk about all of the different testing that maybe your doctor doesn't have you get. I'll talk about the difference of being in Western medicine versus being your own healthcare advocate and what you can do about that to make sure that you are your own advocate and are getting all of the testing that you need in order to set yourself up for success.
Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Angela.
And I'm Claire, your companions on the journey to a successful and vibrant life.
We are here to debunk those media health myths and break through mental blocks that we all face.
Let's fuel your life with nourishing conversations to a healthier you.
Hello, Claire. Hi, Claire.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
Good. You just landed recently back from New Zealand.
I did.
And your pictures were stunning.
Thank you. It's so crazy. So I went LAX to New Zealand, 12-hour flight, amazing. Flew overnight. So I actually got a full night's rest. It's a 20-hour difference, which really only means a 4-hour difference. It's just a different day. So it's not that hard to get used to because you fly in, you lose a day, but then every Sunday is Saturday it's so interesting. So then no jet lag and wore my compression socks so that I didn't have cankles when I landed this time, which was nice.
Yeah.
Because we hit the ground running. We went hiking every day. So we started every day with exercise. We did some activities and it was amazing. And I love any vacation that starts your day with exercise. Like
Same.
I was with people who are in their 40s and 50s, and every day we started our days with a workout before our 5 to 6 hour hike.
I'm coming with you next time.
Yes, please. I would love that.
I just have to purchase some compression socks because I learned my lesson on the flight back from Rome to Dallas. And I was just like, whoa, like my feet. And then of course I learned the lesson of never got up other than just like a few times to go to the bathroom, but I should have honored that more. But I love this idea of the perspective of flying, because when people say, oh, going to Australia, it's like 20 some hours, and we're just used to more like European and then having an 8-hour difference, which is a huge thing. But oh my gosh, I was just like, when is she gonna post something?
I know.
So I can see the land.
I refrained from it for so long.
That's good, because you were in it.
I was. It was so nice. I didn't really text anyone back, so I'm sorry for all my friends. But it was so nice. I loved it. I don't really text back anyways, so I'm sure no one was too shocked.
I feel so honored.
I did text you. I think I did text you once or twice.
Yep, we did. We had a powwow, but I was like, I don't even know what time it is, so she's probably sleeping, and that's all right. She'll see it and get to me when she can. So
yes.
And then you mentioned having another little getaway coming up too.
Oh, so it's so funny. So I flew in and out of LAX, and then on Friday, all I had planned was a little Valentine's Day get together. Mm-hmm. My friend calls me and actually shoots me a text. What are you up to? And I was like, just finished my last meeting. I'm going to work for the rest of the day. And he's like, no, you're not. You're coming to the airport. You're going to meet me there in 30. And I was like, oh, I forgot. No, I didn't forget. It's not anything that was planned. So I just threw all my stuff in a bag, showed up at the airport on a 5 minutes notice. It was great. Yeah. So I packed in 5 minutes, went to LA for the weekend. I went to the beach. I hung out with the most amazing people, and yeah, it was great. I just flew in today. So I am in this just era where I'm just saying yes to everything again.
I love it.
Within reason, but
sure. Nothing to get arrested.
Nothing to get arrested, of course. But I just have been realizing how short life is. And it just kind of hit me one day about everyone in my circle is like, if I could give you any advice for where you're at in life right now, it would be to travel as much as you possibly can. And the amount of people that are telling me that right now, I feel like it's my duty. I really do. I'm like, okay, I have to do, like, I don't know. It's my passion. And so I'm really doing it.
That's good. And again, like you can't get time back, which is what I chatted in a previous episode, is just you can't get time back. So it's what we do with our time when we have it, and making those pivots or saying those yeses and doing it, because you're right. I mean, like, I'm going to turn the corner and say yes. Like, I'm already planning, like, okay, Logan's going to be gone at boot camp, and what am I going to do? What's on the computer? What's on the calendar that's going to be my yes? And really dive into that and give it that full 13 weeks to just fill in gaps so that I'm in a good space and not like recognizing like on a like in the moment of like, oh, he's not here and how many days is left, is just like, this is my transitional space and I'm projecting how do I choose that space to be. And just like you're choosing the space you're in and what you want it to look like. So
much freedom. What do you want that to look like? I want a couple things. I just want a couple.
Yeah. I have one trip already planned. That's the Cape Cod one with my sisters.
Yes. Okay.
Another one is my friend Reno, who's in Chicago, and going back to visit him. And that's another trip I'm trying to iron out for September. So August, September, and then October, maybe sneak something in before he comes back and just say yes, like whatever that looks like. I want to just have it take me, wherever, like blow with the wind, I guess.
I love it.
Less rigidness. I mean, yet you and I are both very responsible and all that, but
balance.
Yeah, exactly. So we could literally have made that a podcast, but we have some good stuff in store. So we should probably pivot, as our listeners are dying to know what our doctor doesn't tell us. And Claire, kick it off. What do we need to know? Because I have my own couple things that have caused me to be where I am and an advocate for myself. So I'd love to hear what inspired you for this.
Yeah, so I am so excited about this topic because I think that this is something that's lacking, because so many people, they hear one thing from a doctor and they take it as their Bible. Like whatever the doctor says goes. And I think it's time that we start questioning that a little bit. I won't say questioning it always, but I'm just saying kind of don't believe everything that your doctor tells you, because from my experience, so just a little bit of background, working with a cardiologist and an internist. They were both at Mayo Clinic, and hearing about their journey has been so inspiring to me. One story that really stands out to me is the doctor that I work with. He tells a story about when he first started working at Mayo, and he went to the cafeteria to get lunch. And as a doctor, you don't go through any nutrition training at all. So you don't learn anything about nutrition. You learn about the science, about molecules, you learn about biology, chemistry, all of these things, but you never learn anything about nutrition. So as a doctor, all you know is the latest fad diet. And so all you know is to say, eat healthy and exercise. That's all you know. But what does that mean? You don't know. That's just what you have to say. And he tells the best story of when he first was an MD. He went to the cafeteria and he was looking for a low fat and low carb snack. And so
Okay.
he would go for his lunch and he would get Skittles because it had no fat, it had no carbs.
Well,
So
winning. Which is hard to believe since there's like sugar.
I know. I could be wrong. Maybe it was like low fat, low cal. I don't know. It was
It's
something along
Mhm.
something along those lines. I know it was low fat, and that was just the trending diet, and so that's what he would eat. And it's
Mhm.
just so crazy, like knowing like you're a MD now, and that's all you know. Like all you know is the latest fad diet, and so. I just wanted to take this episode to just talk about a few of the things that you can do to be proactive about your health. For example, so this hits home to me because I had a carotid artery scan done a few months ago, and I only had this done because one of my friends, her boyfriend, fiance came into our practice, and he was getting it because he had a family history of heart disease.
Mhm.
And I, at the time, didn't know who my grandfather was. And so I thought, okay, this is a great time to get additional testing done that I probably wouldn't normally do for my age. Even the doctor was like, you don't need to do that right now. And I just felt inclined to do it. And I know that we offer it at our facility. So I thought that was a good opportunity. And so I got this carotid artery scan, and I was so nervous to get these results, just not knowing 50% of my bloodline from my dad's side where that was coming from. And so he shot me a text and he goes, hey, what's your family history on these different things? And I said, I have no idea. And he goes, okay, well, I'm not trying to worry you, but your carotid artery has a lot more thickened walls than anyone your age that I would expect to see. And so that really hit home to me. And so it just showed me the power of early testing and preventative care, because I never would have done that if I didn't work for a preventative cardiologist and I didn't work in preventative care and know what these tests were. I just did a patient testimonial actually, and he's like, you guys saved my life by me doing these tests, because I could have had a heart attack and died on my 3 children at any point if you guys didn't run these tests. I thought I was healthy. He was not overweight. He was doing everything right at a textbook front. But he comes in and he gets these tests done and he's like, shoot, like, what more do I need to do? He had a 95% blockage in one of his arteries, and he had no clue, because you would never know. It's a silent killer. The heart attacks, heart disease, it's such a silent killer. You would have no idea. And he made the lifestyle changes, and he was able to turn his life around, and now he's completely fine, and he has added so many healthy years. So it just like it hits to me. It hits me hard to hear those stories and know that like these are tests that people don't know about that they maybe should be getting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is so true. Or, for me with my thyroid, which I know it's something that you have as an overlooked thing. And I can attest to that because, when I just went to my normal OB and did blood work, we noticed I was, within range. But it's kind of hard to say, like, well, what is my personal range? Because thyroid is and they, of course, there's multiple testing on it, but they only focused on the one. And so, but in the one that they measure it by is 0.5 to 4.5. So I was like at a 3, which is considered in the range. But I was having symptoms at that point. And so I had irregular periods. I wasn't sleeping very good. I felt off, like mentally. And it took until I hit, like years later, till it came out that I was over it. So now I'm at a 5+. And it's just like, well, now you're going to work on that. But as I began to take my medication, and she just said, hey, every 6 weeks, we're just going to check to see where you're at. And then eventually, when you feel at your best, you'll know. And I remember feeling my best. And that point where my number was like a 1.8. So 3 is not my range to feel my best.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just this reminder of, I had to be my own advocate, because she didn't really want to look at the other things that were going on, because the number said just this versus a deep dive. And because my hair wasn't thinning and I didn't have some other things, but that's what makes us like beautiful snowflakes, right? Because we're all so different. And so my best is a 1.8 range. I feel the energy, everything just clicks. And so, that's where I pivoted and decided I'm going to do a naturopath, because I want someone who's going to help bring up the things that maybe my body's not producing,
Mm-hmm.
and that can support the thyroid, versus just take this medicine and, and then just go with that, instead of pairing that medicine. Not saying to get off the
Mm-hmm.
medication. It's just saying what could possibly support that. So that's my big thyroid spiel, and how it's often overlooked because it's a range. But the big question is, what's your range?
Yes.
What are our individual ranges and where we feel our best? So
Absolutely. I love that. That's such good insight. Like, everyone's different. And
Mhm.
also, good for you for doing a deep dive, because it's so important, because anytime that anything's off,
Mhm.
there's usually a reason for it.
Yeah.
But sometimes doctors aren't the ones to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
So to be your own advocate is so, so important. Our healthcare system is like a big part of why it is how it is because it's reactive. It's not proactive. So until
Mm-hmm.
something's really bad, like you weren't at your potential, right? You weren't at your optimal self. And they weren't gonna like a traditional Western medicine doctor, which I'm not hating on Western medicine.
No,
We
not at
actually
all.
use it. We actually utilize both the reactive and the proactive approaches together. I think works really well because Western medicine is so needed. But there's it just depends on the doctor, really, because a lot of them, they just would say, oh, well, you're fine, just go. I've had that happen so many times to where it just made me realize that this is so important to recognize the difference. And like you said, be your own advocate. Like I said, interventional, like they are so set up for that. So I just want to dive into a few different things that we can look at and ways that you can be your own advocate. I'll talk about some of the testing that you can get done to start. I actually just had my annual women's exam on Tuesday. And it was so interesting. So I have certain testing that I like to get done on a regular basis. And the people at the front were like, yeah, we'll add that on right away. And then I went back to get my lab work done. And the phlebotomist was like, we can't do that unless a provider sends it to us. And they were like, oh, you're not going to, like, why would you get that? You're not a diabetic and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I will pay out of pocket for all of this. I promise you. I'm not just asking you just for fun. Right. I'm asking you because it has a purpose to me and I would like to have it done. And it just made me realize, and that's also why I was even more confident doing this episode, because it just showed me even my own doctor was very hesitant to give me these tests, and they should be done. So I will go ahead and dive in. So commonly overlooked tests. So like you said, the thyroid. So that should always be done. So a full thyroid panel. And then on top of that, vitamin and minerals. So different things. Vitamin D is very common where people are deficient in, and as well as magnesium. So
I always remind people that just because we're in Arizona and we're in the land of the sun does not mean that we are getting a full amount of that. Because we are just living our normal lives inside, and if anything, protecting more because of the sun and staying away from it.
Exactly. And this vitamin, so vitamin D, taking that, it actually goes great coincidental with the sun. So you're actually supposed to do both because the sun actually activates it. So a short amount of time in the sun will make the vitamin work even better. So if you just do a little bit of both, just a little tidbit. So these aren't routinely checked. I know that they did vitamin D3 recently for me, but I've never been checked for magnesium. Same with omega-3s. I've never been tested for those on a regular unless I ask for those. So those are really good ones. Cortisol and adrenal function. This is another one. So it's a pretty easy test, and these are really big ones for energy. So especially if you're a high stress person, it's probably a good time to get the cortisol especially checked out because you probably have elevated cortisol levels, and that's a good way to see, okay, where can I fix this? One of the best things about getting these tests done is that there's so many holistic ways that you can go about solving a lot of them, especially with cortisol, stress management techniques. But if you don't know that you run on really high cortisol, then it's kind of hard to fix. So just like any of these, just get it tested. Advanced lipid testing. So I'm still curious to find out if this is what they actually did on me because I asked 3 different people and I got 3 different answers. But getting like your lipo little a, there's different things related. Like, so there's your lipo B, your lipo A. These are really good genetic tests. So these are good ways to know if especially if you are like me and you don't know your full family history. These are really good ones to get to see how much of it is genetic and how much of it is actually your lifestyle habits. So I always recommend getting those. There's not a whole lot that you can do with diet to lower these, but it is always good to know. It always goes with your cholesterol. So that's why it's good to get the advanced testing. If you have high LDL, which is your low density lipoproteins for your cholesterol. So if you have a higher amount of those, then you know that your lipo A is going to be a little bit higher. But if you get both tests, then you know that whether it's genetic or lifestyle. So it's kind of cool to get those. The lipo.
So, fun fact, I'm due for another panel, but I am low in cholesterol. So she wants me eating red meat. She wants me eating like whole eggs, butter, because even when I had seen her or had the blood work from within a 6-month period, I still went down. So
do you know if it's
very low,
high density or low?
I'd have to look it up because it wasn't like go eat all the fast food and grease and all that stuff.
Hopefully no doctors.
Yeah, but using avocados and because I have nuts regularly, but that's just not the right fat to help. And so I'm excited to see what will come of it. But yeah, I mean, that's the deep dive into the panel. Like, and she does do like break it down to, the little guys that you were talking about, the A's and the B's.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, those are super important. I know blood cholesterol doesn't have as much of an effect on your blood sugar levels. So people will be like, don't eat eggs or don't eat red meat. And it's like, well, you can. It's not going to affect it as much as you think. I feel like some people might realize that a big difference if they're eating a lot of it, but the main difference is if you're eating fast food, because that's the biggest. Yeah, that's the biggest one because it's a lot of the polysaturated fats, which means that they go everywhere in your body and kind of take over.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. So I always get the lipid testing. So I do this one every 3 to 4 months. The other ones I get every 6 to 12 months. Okay. But the lipid testing, you can make a difference on your lipids in 3 to 4 months with diet and exercise. So other things, this is specifically good for heart health. So your CRP, so the C-reactive protein, your homocysteine. So this is good for inflammation and your cardiovascular risks. Gut health testing. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this. Unfortunately, one of them is stool testing. I've never done this one, actually.
I have not done that. I'm sure there'll come a point in time when I will, because that's, to me, there's like layers of our health, right? So, the first layer to this, to someone who's listening who's never done a deeper dive into panel, like that's where you just want to start. You don't have to jump to bringing in your poo samples. Like, that's maybe a buildup, like how to get there. But maybe you want to dive right in. I don't know. But
depends on where your struggles are.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that it does see if someone's never really tapped into the blood work and just asking for that next layer, and then read up on what those words mean on your paperwork, because you do get access to having your results back. I'm probably jumping the gun, but the gut health is super important. As we know, it does connect to a lot of things in our health, mental health even, and so
it affects every single part of you. Like that's what keeps you going. And having a clean gut microbiome, it makes your teeth clean, it makes your breath smell good. Like, it's crazy how much of it correlates to each other, because your digestive system is all connected. And so if your gut microbiome is off, chances are everything's messed up in your body. So another one is hormone testing. So that's important, especially, I will say, women struggle with this a lot. Men do too, I will say, but knowing exactly where you're at. So for women in particular, there's things like testosterone that could be thrown off, like your estrogen. There's so many different things that are going to mean different things also, that can affect your energy levels. It can affect your sexual health. It can affect your just day-to-day life, your mood.
Well, and for testosterone, I had read that it reproduces itself only at night. So if a man is not getting good sleep from the hours of like 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., they're not regenerating the full dose of testosterone. So as opposed to women, depending on what hormones is, we're in the cycle of our periods, and like when progesterone spikes or estrogen spikes, like, whereas men, it's a daily refill. So if men are stressed, their cortisol levels are impacted. It's just huge. And so a lot of times women will say like, oh, he doesn't have a sex drive, so therefore his testosterone is low. But it's more than just the sex drive. It is the man's headquarters, like our own estrogen and stuff that makes us women click. It's their version. So if we have things that are off, we're more tired. So it's just kind of some nuggets that I've learned along the way with clients in my chair who are nurses who have husbands and that are struggling, and it's bigger than than just like your sex drive. It's a huge functioning part for men, and we as women have it too. Like, we have some testosterone going on, but yeah, it's just, we all need our hormones loved on.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to have a guest on about this too, about women's health, because I have PCOS. And so that means that my hormones go all over the place and it affects everything in my life. And there's nothing, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I can do about it, but there's nothing that I do that causes it.
Right.
There's different ways to treat it, but it's so interesting. So it's just kind of how you are, and you just do your best. So, on to lifestyle, which is one of those things that you can do about it. But like I said, when I went to the office, so it was so funny. I actually saw a nurse practitioner this time, and at the end of my visit, she goes, yeah, and then on your right, you'll see a pamphlet for heart disease. Feel free to take a look at that. And then she goes, and make sure to eat healthy and exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
You're like, I am.
wow, this is so actionable. I'm going to go do that right now.
Oh my gosh.
But what they fail to do, and what I want to emphasize, is they don't know their nutrition facts. Your doctor doesn't know their nutrition facts. Chances are some do, but educate yourself, find a coach maybe outside of your doctor, do what you can to do your own research on nutrition so that you know what works best for you, because this affects your inflammation, your energy, how long you live at the end of the day, what things to avoid, what things that you should be implementing as much as possible. There's 5 different things that you should really focus on. So nutrition is just the number one. Physical activity, 30 minutes at least of exercise every single day, no matter what, some type of exercise, doing a combination. Zone 2, doing some type of aerobic training. So walking, biking, swimming, some type of aerobic exercise, doing weight training, doing flexibility, all of the, like, balance, stability. Most people in there above 75, I believe it's 1 in 3 every year have a fall. So doing those things leading up to that are the things that are going to make you live longer, make you like not only just live longer, but you're going to have healthier lives going into your older age. So doing those things early on can help to set you up for success. Dealing with stress management, so that's the other one. Sleep, and just thinking ahead. So just sleep, stress, all of these things, getting those in tune. Like you said, the sleep is something. And then also, like you said, Ange, advocating for yourself. So if you're recommended to do something, or maybe your doctor says you're okay, maybe compare what are the preventative labs, like the numbers that you should be seeing. And then maybe your doctor has other numbers, but really take a look, do a deep dive. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is like the average American, like I was talking in New Zealand to some people, and they're like, oh, you guys live the SAD diet, the standard American diet, SAD. And it's like, okay.
We have a label.
We do. We have a label in other countries. Like, we're known for this. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, these are my numbers that my doctor's going to say are okay. But then these are the numbers that are actually optimal for me to actually live my healthiest and best self. So compare both numbers, look at them, compare yourself to the one that's optimized. If that's what you're going for in life, which you should be, if you're listening to the Nourished Life, you want to live a nourished life, you want to be healthy and happy, and you want to live as long and as healthy as possible. So anyways, that's it. That's all I have for you guys.
Yeah, it's so good. And when I first started the naturopath route, this is my takeaway, my actionable takeaway.
Yes, Actions by Ange.
Yeah. Was to read like what some of the, like, we know what fats are, or we know what cholesterol is, or sodium, like we understand that. But I think it was important to also understand some of the other words on there. Even if I was in range, like, of course I don't have my blood work pulled up, but it's just all the things from the full panel that it's looking for. So like, if you don't understand what it is, Google it, find out what it is, because that will allow you to ask questions on the follow-up. It helps you to be prepared for your appointment. And what are things to help boost that? Like taking vitamin D is great every day to partner with it, but what is the quantity that you want to take? And then maybe you have to, with your blood work, you're going to want to take a little more until you boost that. So that's just really important to educate yourself. Learn what your blood work means.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that not every range is, find your range.
Mm-hmm.
Know what's right for you when you finally get to that, checking back in with them, getting another lab work done when they ask you to come do it, and then stop and say, like, how do I feel? How do I actually feel now that these numbers reflect blank? And then that'll help you have a baseline. So if you are starting to feel off again, you know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right,
I love that.
Clarification.
Don't trust everything you hear. It's so easy to trust everything that comes out of your doctor's mouth. And I have done it. I've been there.
Me too.
But you can't do it and I'm so sad to say it, but you have to be your own advocate. You have to question it. You have to just think about what's best for you. I mean, especially just going into this doctor's office, they made me feel like I was crazy for asking for these things. And they didn't think I knew what I was talking about, frankly, at the beginning when I'm like, what labs am I getting done? And they're like, this, and this. And it's like, then I had to go ask someone else. And don't let them make you feel weird, because when you're in any field, you get used to doing the same things over and over again. And so when someone asks you something out of the box, you might be thrown off, but don't be weirded out by that. Be willing to be that person.
Right. I love it, Claire. We all needed this, especially in the new year when you want to kick off all the good things, and your blood work is one of them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ange. Thank you for all your insights as well. And I will look forward to our next episode. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about dating.
Yeah, it's the dating topic. I have taken a poll from several clients who have, over the years, who have been in this boat, and I have collected data. So I'm excited to share some of the stories. And I have 2 people, they do not know, but I am testing them. 2 guys. I am testing and just seeing how this stuff works. So until next week.
This is a cliffhanger. I'm so excited. Okay. Have a great day, everyone.